To our Staffino Customer Experience Academy webinar. My name is Ștefan Dumitru and I represent Staffino in Romania, and I'll do a short introduction about us. Basically, we are an international company that helps other companies to collect data, analyze that data in real time, and provide all the information needed for management to make decisions for improving the customer experience. So customer experience data is what we do. Today, our customer experience specialist, Ján Gabauer, will be in the spotlight with some interesting information regarding the customer experience trends for this year. So Ján has an amazing background and he's always in touch with everything that is new in this field. I will add now a link in the chat where you can ask questions during the presentation, and at the end of each chapter, Ján will happily answer if he didn't already do that. So I'll keep refreshing this link for people who will attend later, and feel free to use it anytime. Also, the webinar will be recorded so we can share it with you after this and with the others that couldn't attend today. So Ján, you have the mic.
Thanks a lot, Stefan. So thanks a lot for joining us today. So today we would like to bring you some interesting information based on our understanding of the customer experience business as such, with some key trends for this year, as we have selected them based on our understanding of the market. So the first topic will be regarding the impact of the pandemic on a changing customer behavior in different touch points in different companies. Afterwards, we'll talk a little bit about the NPS and the loyalty of the customers, why it's still so important in light of the current changes. And the last topic will be more or less like fundamental discussion regarding the customer experience and its position within the company and within the company culture. So as Stefan mentioned already, so after each topic, we will have time to answer your questions. So feel free to ask the questions, and I think that we can go on the first topic right now. So generally, in past 2 years, the business and the market has struggled because of the pandemic. So there were many impacts on the channel management within the different companies. So because there were a lot of restrictions based on local governments introduced, and many people, they didn't have options to attend the shops, so they have to use some remote channels or to start to use some digital channels. And generally, it has ended up in really changed distribution of incoming contacts with the company. And this made another pressure on the management staff to accept these challenges and to adjust their operation to the new business model or to the new needs. So generally, what we have seen in past year was that the significant drop of the face-to-face visits in normal stores, retail stores, or like some POSs. On the other hand, we have seen that the volumes of the calls to the call center has dramatically increased typically. And as a second challenge for most of the call center management was the fact that they have to move people from the offices to home office, which was accompanied with some difficulties regarding the IT stuff, PCs and so on. And we have seen that many people has become more digital, because before the pandemic, there was like a quite, maybe not significant, but there was like quite part of the customer who used to use the digital fully. I mean, end to end, and they were even expecting this digital interaction with the company. On the other hand, pandemic has pushed many really traditional people to start to use digital. So it was quite interesting to see how the small kids were learning through the video calls, and they are quite advanced already with the using of many different communication tools, and the same goes for older people. So I think that all of this has helped somehow to start to build or to speed up the digitalization process, which used to be present in many companies already even before the pandemic. On the other hand, even the digitalization as such has brought some new challenges, because definitely most of the people who are digital are quite demanding customers, because they are using many different tools already, which has been produced, I don't know, in a Silicon Valley by hundreds of skilled IT guys who are programming nice apps, fancy stuff, and the local companies has to somehow adjust to these modern trends. But typically, they don't have enough resources to bring some such a fancy stuff or to pay for such a fancy stuff. So they have to be really a little bit picky and really focus on important things out of this customer service stuff, which could be brought to the digital to the customers. And this goes back to the customer expectations. This is like a main point or fundamental key of our business, to understand what are the customer expectations of your customers. So you need to know what you have to fulfill. So otherwise you will never succeed with the delivery of the proper service to the customer. So generally, these customer expectations should be fulfilled by the quality of the service provided by the people who are providing this service, or by apps and other resources. We are measuring it through the customer experience surveys, and based on that, we can provide the knowledge what are the real customer expectations. This should be considered as a closed loop from the business point of view, because customer experience measurement will define the key attributes of satisfactions, which has to be used to building the proper quality for the service provided. On the other hand, around this quality will determine the level of customer experience. So this is a really nice loop which should be used and be like in the center of the all customer experience models. When we are talking about the different or changing of the distribution strategy of the incoming interactions from the customers with the company, so generally we are somehow like back in the basics. So we are a few years, it's like 10 years ago, when most of the businesses were trying to fix the basic stuff to deliver the proper service and so on. So the efficiency is the key point for us for this year, for most of our clients, for most of the company in the business, to make sure that they will be able to handle all the different volumes in their specific channels. So generally, when we are talking about some key attributes of the service provided, so definitely the request resolution is one of the key attributes of customer experience as such. So it will remain for this year as well. So everybody should be focused, or all the resources should be focused primarily on this thing. The second one is the sub approach, which is together with the request resolution one of the most important attributes of the customer experience in all assisted channels, if there is human involved. And the last one should be simplicity and speed, because most of the customers, so the most important asset for them these days is the time. So nobody has enough time to deal with all the different stuff that the life is bringing on, and you have to be really fast with responding to the customer and to solve the request and make it as simple as possible for the customer. Don't forget that typical journey of the customer through the service touchpoints will start not in that moment when he will start the discussion with the agent, the call center, but it will start even before, when the customer decides that he needs to contact the company, and he will start to search for contacts on his smartphone on a Google, for example. So he has to go through different steps: website, contacts, IVR, or he has to find the local or to localize the nearest shop and to take the journey there. And that's already the journey of the customer. So you should take into consideration all the aspects of his journey and make sure that it will be really effortless for the customer as possible. When we are talking about the efficiency, so definitely customer experience can help with the efficiency. So we have found out with some clients that, for example, in a call center, there is like nice correlation between the average handle time of the call and the more satisfied customer. So if you remember, so typical, most of the people will say that the agents with the longest calls should be these care agents who are dealing end to end the customer, and they want to make sure that the customer will be really satisfied. But generally, what we have found out in our case studies is the fact that typically agents with the shorter calls are making customers more happier. So that's really fancy stuff, because in a case of one client, we found out that if he will do proper actionable insights, teach people or train people how to make shorter calls, more efficient calls, so he can increase the customer satisfaction, and he will save at the end of the day 15% of the agent's productive time. And he can use this time to allocate it for more different tasks which they need to fulfill. On the other hand, for example, if you have many calls in a call center, you can always play with the service level. So we are still getting a lot of information from our clients who has the old setup of the service level, and they are trying to serve the people like 80% to answer like 80% of the calls within 20 seconds. So this is generally a little bit old school, and the cycle time doesn't have to be 20 seconds anymore. Well, we have measured already based on the real data with different customers and their call and satisfaction with their call centers. We realized that for the most of the people, 40 or 60 seconds is like acceptable time to wait for to be connected with the agent. So generally, people, they can differentiate in their head if they are waiting like less than 1 minute or more than 1 minute. More than 1 minute is typically a long waiting time for them, but if it's like less than 1 minute, so it's pretty acceptable. Of course, the best way for a customer is when he's answered immediately after he or she will pass the IVR. To deliver all this efficiency stuff, all this nice customer experience and the quality in which customer deserves based on the customer expectation. So another challenge is to have proper skilled labor force, because the beginning of the pandemic was quite simple for many of the management staff, because they realized that people they don't want to lose their jobs, because they were really not sure if it will be easy for them on the market to find another one. But in past year, I think that everything has returned already to the normal setup as it used to be prior to the pandemic, and we can see that the attrition rate within the first line employees, and it doesn't matter if you are talking about the call centers or if we are talking about the retail stores. So we can see that the attrition is increasing again, and because to become like a call center agent or became like a sales rep in a store, it's not like the most fancy job anymore in the world. So it's always quite hard to find really skilled people on the exhausted market. So in this case, you have to make sure that based on the minimum skills required to perform the job you have for your people, you have to make sure that you will be able to fulfill all the quality aspects. So in the case that you are not able to find the people as it used to be like a couple of years ago, so you have to adjust the training. So put more training there to help people I mean, agents or sales rep to have better tools which will make their life easier, and they don't have to keep in their mind many information that they don't have to be like so skilled as it used to be before. All of this could help you to deliver the customer experience as your customers deserve. And from the first topic, I think that that's it. It was quite short, but now we have time for questions if there are any. So Stefan, I'm giving the word to you back.
Yeah, I'm having some questions. Somebody asked if there is a benchmark for the ideal call length. You talked about the duration of time before the call center is taking care of the client, but is there a benchmark for the ideal call length?
Oh, well, generally, there is no benchmark for it. So what we can see typically with the different utility business, the call will take around 3 to 5 minutes in average. But again, it depends how far you are with the automatization of the processing of the different requirements of the people of your customers. And if you are dealing in a call center with some general stuff, or you are really you have like some special agents to deal with more advanced issues which needs more time to get resolved. So, but generally there is no benchmark.
Okay, so a complementary question by Lucas. Is the talk time to call center including the routing process when customer is dialing in, or just the call with the real agent itself?
It's just like a pure time with spent with the agent. So
Okay.
we were not take into account the time length in the IVR and so on, because it could really vary based on each client and the preferences. But generally, uh, if I can recommend, so I'll recommend to keep the IVR as short as possible, so it will not it will help to route the people based on their request to the proper agent, but don't mm, don't keep the customer too long in IVR. They don't like it.
Yeah. And last question is asking about has the pandemic affected customer satisfaction in any way, in the sense that has it increased or decreased in the pre-pandemic comparison?
Well, so we have seen many different impacts of the pandemic. So generally, uh, in the first year of the pandemic, and especially in the first 3 or 4 months when the impacts was quite huge, we didn't see almost any impacts, because there was like common understanding of all the customers and the people that there is like a huge problem in the world, and were really uh, they were accepting that they have to wait longer in a call center to get answered. They cannot attend the POS and so on. Afterwards, it has changed a little. So customers became more nervous when they have to solve something, and they have to again wait. But generally, it didn't impact overall satisfaction so much. So we have seen many secondary impacts, like inflation, based on inflation, some churn or significant churn in some types of businesses because of the price and so on. And this was impacting the customer experience of these companies more than the pandemics, more than the like a direct impact of the pandemic.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So no more questions?
That's it for now.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll skip to the next topic, and we'll talk a little bit about the NPS. Uh, well, NPS is really old custom experience metric. It used to be here for dozens of years already, and I think that most of the people are really familiar with it. In the past, there was like a huge struggle of many managers. Uh, they didn't know how to interpret the NPS and how to manage it. So typically the simple question of the average manager was, what should I do to increase NPS by 5 points? But this was like not the best question, because most of the people has been focusing on this NPS, like some simple general number, but the really importance of the NPS is hidden in the percentage of each box. So, for example, when we are talking about the promoter, so most of you, I hope you know that the NPS is being measured on an 11-point scale, when 9 and 10 are like a promoters, so the loyal people, loyal customers, and people who will press the 0 up to 6, so they are becoming detractors. And the NPS is calculating like a promoters minus detractors. But generally, what is really important when you are measuring on, or you would like to measure NPS in the future and understand the loyalty of the customers, it's really important to look at the percentage of the promoters and percentage of the detractors. This is really important because it could really give you many benefits. Generally, when we are talking about the benefits of measuring NPS, so there are like two levels, so-called NPS top-down, when we are measuring the loyalty of the base of the customer. If you are from a company which has like a contracted base of the customers, or you have some loyalty program for the customers, so you have some information about them, you can really easily set up a simple feedback campaign and get a lot of insights from your customers, even if they were not in touch with your channel in past, I don't know, days, months. This could really help you to identify potential churners, if there are any, and you can understand if the general attitude, the general loyalty of your base is changing because of some external factors. For example, sometimes it could be even not in the hand of the company. So if there are uh, like a bad promotion of your brand by some influencers in the TV. It could be like a politicians who like to talk about the utility companies and so on. So it could really start to impact your NPS, and it's really nice if you know it already, so you can start with some corrective actions to make sure that it will not hurt you at the end of the day from the business point of view. Another chance to measure NPS is during the interaction with the customer or after the interaction with the customer. So based on the or after the contact with touchpoint, customer will receive the feedback campaign, and he will answer the NPS question. And based on transactional level, you can really identify the drivers of the service performance which can really impact the loyalty of the customers. Because generally, from our understanding, what is really easy and you should always focus to avoid it is to deal with the drivers of low loyalty in the touchpoints, because typically it's in your hands. Because when we are talking about the most common attributes or drivers of NPS as such, so generally on the level of overall base, you will find that the most people will claim like a product or price of the product. Then they will start with some presence in media, social media, and afterwards they will start with some support, customer care, or service provided. And generally, while people from touchpoint management typically will not have enough power to change the prices, because they are really linked to some business planning and big financial data. So you can always change the support process or the service process in touchpoint. All of the metrics can influence, or okay, there are many correlations between the performance metrics measured in the customer experience survey in touch points and the NPS as such. So all the drivers of NPS can have really different impacts on the overall loyalty of the customers. So for example, when we are looking here on some traditional attributes like first contact resolution, overall satisfaction, staff approach, or customer effort score, you can see that the impact while the trend is quite similar, the impact from the percentage of the boxes is really different. So definitely we can confirm that the staff approach has a significant impact on customer loyalty. And from this perspective, we can consider the staff approach as a dissatisfier from the NPS or loyalty perspective. On the other hand, even if we are talking only about the small portion of the customers who are contacting your touchpoints, because typically the bottom box, the uh, like customers who has pressed the 1 button, so typically they will not uh, not present like 10 or 20% of your customers. Usually we can see that the very dissatisfied customers are typically like 1 to 5% of all customers who are contacting you. So even it's a small portion. On the other hand, if you will cross that data with all the contacts in your touchpoints, you will realize that we are talking about the huge numbers of the customers, so in thousands. And typically, this zero box from the detractors is the mm, is the most common box of the people who can become the churners in the future. So just make sure that you will understand or analyze at least always the zero box on NPS and make proper actions to make sure that all the obstacles which these people has to deal during the service process, they will be somehow addressed and avoided in the future. This could really help you a lot to drive the churn and performance of the channel. On the other hand, NPS has really nice, or loyalty has really nice correlation with the commercial performance of your company. So typically, we have seen many data which confirmed already known true that the higher the NPS is or higher the loyalty is, so the more customers are willing to spend on your products and services. So here is like a simple use case of one of our clients where we can see that the promoters or the loyal customers are typically spending like 1/3 more compared to the detractors. And here we are talking about the loyal contracted base. So even here you can see that there are like big differences in the financial outcomes of these customers. When we are talking about the willingness to make a purchase again, so we can see that the promoters are doing the shopping like 25% more compared to the detractors. So again, great data to understand and to understand why it's important to avoid all the or most of the drivers of dissatisfaction or disloyalty, and make sure that based on that you will be able to drive even the commercial performance even higher. Another thing is, as I had mentioned already, that even like a small portion of the customers who are in touch with your touchpoint during the year can, at the end of the year, mean that you have lost a lot of money just because of the fact that you didn't address this small portion of the customers. So make sure that even if it's like 1% of the disloyal customer, there will be always somebody who will try to deal with this root causes of this disloyalty. And maybe another one case. Here we can see we have looked at the customers in 1 month. So if they used to be like detractors or promoters after the shopping, and how they behave in consecutive 3 months. So we can see that these loyal customers, only 33% of them came back in a upcoming consecutive 3 months. On the other hand, we can see that from the loyal customers, it was more than 86%. So this is quite, I think, really important and interesting data for most of the companies to make sure that they will understand how they can drive the commercial performance of their touch points even higher. And this accounts not only to the retail stores, this accounts to the call center lines who are already using services to sell to try to increase the commercial performance, and the correlation between the customer experience or the NPS and the commercial output is the same even for them. And I think that's it from the NPS perspective. So if there are any questions, feel free and we can answer it.
Yeah, there are some questions. First, it's a question from the first part from Elisa. How can we make a call shorter? Usually the customer spends more time explaining his problem and the agent tries to understand and answer correctly.
Oh, well, so this is quite specific case because I would have to need more data to be more precise with my answer. But generally, you can always try to solicit the required information from the customer even before the call, during the IVR or during the waiting time, to make sure that the agent will have already some important information when he will start to explain the solution to the customer. On the other hand, it really it's really hard to answer it because now I'm not sure if we are talking about the minutes or dozens of minutes, or we are talking about the simple or really like a difficult product or service. So it's everything related to that. But in a case that we are talking about like some really difficult situation of the customer which needs long explanation, so in that case you have to deal with it.
Okay. Good. There is one more question. Should I benchmark my NPS versus the world NPS in a given vertical, or should I watch my NPS versus NPS in my country?
Okay, so really nice question, interesting, and the answer is there is no simple answer on this. So NPS doesn't have any benchmark like a world benchmark, so you have to compare yourself again against the vertical and the market. So typically everything is the right approach. So I would personally compare myself to the vertical, I mean local within the country, the market within the country, and to the vertical at least within the I don't know, for example, Europe or some broader area. And it depends if you have like a specific brand, if there is no many competitors on the market, or vice versa, if there are many competitors, in that case you will get more benchmark data. On the other hand, sometimes it's you have to be careful when you are comparing the touchpoint performance. For example, when you are talking about the NPS gathered on the level of the call center touchpoint or retail visits, because in that case sometimes you are not comparing like apples with apples, because most of the companies have different approaches to deal with the specific or similar requirements, based on the fact that many there is not like a common approach to optimization and to dealing with all the different stuff. But to make long story short, so I'll compare myself against the vertical in the country, against the market in the country, and against the vertical in a broader area. So at least, for example, Europe.
Okay, thank you. We can move on.
Okay, maybe I will put more words on the first question, because I forgot to say at the end that sure, if you would like to get more insight or more answers on your questions, so just don't hesitate to contact us afterwards, and we can separate we can set up a specific call and we can discuss your case even further and in great detail. So in that case, we will be able to help even better. Perfect. Well, the last topic is the more like a fundamental discussion how the customer experience should be set up as a like a part of the company's culture, because you know what we can see with many different clients, even the approach how to deal with the customer experience topic within the company is quite different per each client. So the best way would be if you have like a dedicated people who understand many different processes within the company, and they can drive, aggregate the data, understand data, customer experience data, and they can drive the improvements through the different channels. And with some different stakeholders from other departments through the company. This typically is not possible in a world of the smaller European countries if the companies doesn't have enough support staff in their headcount, because they don't have enough money for it, and generally they are struggling with some expertise in some areas. So they have to be always focused on the most important thing which they need to fix, and typically they don't have enough time to address the same things every month, and to use some ongoing method to assess and address all the customer experience topics. On the other hand, we can see that many times the customer experience became responsibility of the channel management, which is some great practice, but uh, they shouldn't be alone within the company, because even the best customer or best touchpoint managers, they don't have enough power to convince marketing, IT guys, and other people within the company to work together and to get better product and better service to the customer. Or sometimes it could be really hard in that case. So generally, if your CEO will be sponsor of the customer experience, so that's the best way how to proceed with some continuous improvement from the customer experience point of view. Another thing is that in today's digital world, the teams who are dealing with the customers, they need to have proper tools, because we are not living anymore in a simple world when one transaction in a touch point means one customer journey. So typically, most of you are working in some multi-channel or omni-channel environment, and customers can start their requirement or their journey in one touch point and end up in another touch point. And it's really important that all the data gathered in all these different touch points will be somehow put together in one place in a CRM tool, and the people who are dealing with these customers during their journey, so they will have enough information regarding the journey as such, so they don't have to repeat the questions again and again, and ask the customers the same stuff, so they can help them and understand and make sure that their journey through all these different touch points will be effortless as possible. On the other hand, as we mentioned already, so in these days, most of the companies are gathering a huge amount of data. So they have a lot of data regarding what the customer was buying, when he was contacting us, what he was trying to solve. On the other hand, most of the companies, because as I said, in our local, smaller European states, doesn't have enough capacity or enough resources to deal with the analytical capacity. So typically we have a lot of data, but we don't have time to assess it, address it, and make actionables based on the outcomes from these data analysis. So this lack of the analytical capacity to interpret the data should be addressed with the company as well. So typically there are only two ways how you can deal with it. So you can even hire more people, and to make sure that you will use all data you are gathering and benefit out of these outcomes based on the analysis conducted, or you can just get a partner on board, some other company who can help you with the data analysis and all the insights which you need to run your business even better. So these are only two ways. there is nothing in the middle. So the worst case is when you will just leave the data and you will not use it for enhancement of your business. Based on all the data analysis, based on all the reviews of the data with our clients, which we have done in the past years, and we are talking about the millions of Excel rows. So we can really say that what is true is that the customer experience and the commercial success of the company are really correlated and aligned. So typically what we can see, if you will increase your customer experience, so you'll definitely increase revenue, efficiency, and quality of service. On the other hand, you will, due to better efficiency, you will save some costs. So typically this is really working together, and you should consider it as the main benefit of the customer experience as such. So, and I think that's it. Feel free to ask the questions regarding this topic, and hopefully we'll be able to answer it.
Yeah, somebody asked if there is any ideal rule for creating questionnaires like NPS plus some X metrics. Is there any ideal formula?
Okay, so that definitely what is our simplistic rule? So it doesn't matter if you will ask the customer 5 or 7 questions. If it's not like a 10 minutes questionnaire, so it should be fine for the customer. If we are talking about the normal interaction with the traditional assisted channel, so for example, visit in a store or call to the call center, so we will definitely recommend to use the NPS for loyalty, overall satisfaction, or CSAT on a 5-point scale with the neutral midpoint for overall satisfaction with the service provided. Afterwards, we will ask the question regarding the performance of the agent, so satisfaction with the agent, and contact resolution. And it doesn't matter if we are talking about the first contact resolution or contact resolution as such. It always depends what you are driving in your company right now and what makes more sense for you, because you know your business the best. So generally, these 4 questions should be always there, and always there should be like a space for a customer to leave the verbatim, some open feedback, so he can describe thanks to your people, or he can or she can describe the some specific case which they have to go through when they were trying to resolve their requirement.
Okay, that's about it on the question side.
Perfect. So I think that we are done.
Perfect. Thank you, Jan. As I said, we recorded this meeting. I will share it with you, and feel free to contact us anytime. And if you have any questions, we'll be happily answering to them. So thank you for attending, and have a great evening.
Thanks a lot for your time. Have a nice evening.
Goodbye, everyone.